Hello. Hello. All right. You've been bugging me about this one. I know. We're going to talk again about gender and sex and all that stuff as it pertains to at least humans. Yeah, we're not going to do it about moray eels. That's why I said that. Okay. Anyway, you kind of have, I don't know. I think sex is pretty obvious. Like, all you got to do is look at it. It's like, uh, yeah, I got a beard. Women, not a beard. That's between the legs, pretty obvious. Yeah. I get all that, but let's maybe get a little deeper into how what's going on there. Well, maybe let's start with just what again is gender as opposed to sex. What do you mean, as opposed to? Gender and sex? That's the same thing. Yeah, well, that's not how everybody looks at it, because then why even have two words? Well, okay. So what do you think is the difference? Well, what I find useful is to think about it as sex being primarily about biological differences, while the gender is really more about roles and identities that could really be shaped by society and culture, and and really have a connection to biology, but that's not the primary reason. Yeah, a lot of people use it interchangeably. That's why it's kind of confusing. Okay. Some folks equate gender and sex on purpose, because they think that sex and gender are completely stuck together and immutable. Yeah, exactly. However, that doesn't leave a lot of room for more masculine women or more feminine men, does it? No. Yeah, and that's a lot of people. And why should we throw them out? If we're going to pretend like this is really kind of like a rigorous biological fact, what about the people that don't fit? We just kind of say like, oh well, too bad, doesn't fit the theory, but we'll just ignore it? Yes, I believe that's what we do with all the exceptions that don't fit a theory, however much there is. Exactly. That sounds like shitty science. You mean having a theory that has so many exceptions that you have to throw out, that you've thrown out a big percentage of your group? Yeah, exactly. That seems like shitty science. Certainly doesn't seem very persuasive, does it? Nope. Yeah, so embryologically speaking. Okay, embryos, like the very beginning, right? Yeah. So for the first 6 or 7 weeks, male and female aren't any different. What? Yeah. All those cells that are that are starting for the first 6 or 7 weeks, it's not male or female. It's just a bunch of cells. Huh. And it's only at the 12th week that the little things that someday will become different genitalia start developing. So now you're basically 12 weeks. You're at the end of the first trimester. You've got 40 weeks total. 12 of those you don't even have genitals, and of those 12 weeks, or the whole 40 if you want to look at it that way, 6 to 7 weeks you have no difference. Yeah. Okay. That's maybe not the biggest case for. All right. Let's get out of the developmental thing. Let's go to once we're there, and once we're born. Yeah, and then you look at, obviously in babies you can look between the legs and see what it is, boy or girl, but they always hold up the kid right after birth, and then they say it's a boy or it's a girl after they look at the crotch. They don't look at the face, they don't look at the elbow, they don't look at anything other than the crotch.
Yes? What's your point?
Well, so that's the only difference at that point. It's nothing else that they could even tell from if they tried.
Alright, so we're back to the crotch.
Yeah, and frankly, until puberty, that is almost the only way you'll tell the difference between a boy and a girl, and those crotches don't even work yet.
Okay, that is true.
Yeah, so there's 12 years almost, depending on when puberty sets in, that basically there's no difference anyway. Even in terms of the hormonal differences.
Okay. Yeah, I get it, because it's like you're not growing a beard, you're not growing breasts, things aren't getting bigger, you don't have underarm hair and all that.
Exactly. None of that stuff happens until afterwards. See, here you got 12 years, basically, of non-differentiation, sexually speaking.
Alright, so that's also not that different.
Exactly.
And then there's behavior. Like, men are tough, strong, and aggressive.
Oh, God.
And women are soft, nurturing, and weaker.
Oh, see, okay. All right. Why don't we take, I think there's still a question. Are they really intrinsically that different? So is it really biology and nothing can be changed? Or even maybe biology? Are we really that different?
Yeah, totally. Like, I can totally tell. And so can just about everybody else who's not you, apparently.
So this isn't about me. It's more about, is this actually a reality? Or is this just something we want to have be the reality? So, are they really that different? Let's take a look. Obviously, adults, there's differences, but are they as clear?
I think it's clear.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point is, clearly, we do have different hormones to different proportions.
Yeah, exactly. Like women have estrogen and men have testosterone.
Yeah, exactly. Except that women also have testosterone and men also have estrogen. What?
Since when?
Since biology?
Okay.
Yeah. It's different proportions that make the difference, and differences in receptivity, but we all have the same stuff, just to different degrees.
All right. But I can still tell male parts from female parts, even without the crotch, the other parts.
Well, sure. I mean, some things are kind of obvious. Usually, oftentimes, breasts of women are, in fact, a different shape and different size than men's. But there are also women who have very small breasts, and then it becomes less clear.
That's true.
And they're fully functional women. There's nothing different other than they happen to look different.
Okay, that is true. But still, body parts, different.
Yeah, but let's try this. I'm gonna put together some pictures, and you try and tell which one is from a man and which one's from a woman.
Yeah, no problem. It's pretty obvious. I'm gonna be able to tell.
Okay. So here's some noses. Yeah, so it's a bit of a size difference. You can see it, but which ones of these are men's noses and which ones are women's noses?
Well,
exactly. And how about here's some ears? Here's an ear. There's an ear. Ear. Ha!
Okay.
Whose ears are these? Women or men?
Okay. Well,
here's some hands.
Okay, but those are like old hands.
Yeah, old man's hands or old woman's hands. Yeah, and here's some feet.
Feet. All right. What? Oh.
Yeah. Some feet obvious. Some feet not obvious. Okay, let's go on. Navels here.
Navels.
Yeah, here's a bunch of navels. There.
Okay.
Yeah, not that easy, is it?
Yeah, they kind of look like a bunch of navels.
Yeah, and which ones are male, female?
Well, not a lot of hair there.
Yeah, and women, depending on what ethnicity, there might be more hair, and also many women pluck the hair because there's so much stigma associated with women and hair.
Okay, that is true. I am aware of this.
Okay, how about some armpits?
Armpits? Well, that's easy. The men's armpits are hairy.
Yeah, and women's aren't because they shave them all the time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so again, it's a cultural thing. It's not actually a biological thing.
Yeah, but the men's are hairier than women's.
But a lot of times. But how do we know? How many have you seen? How many people do it? And frankly, it's just not true. Some women have hairy armpits, and some men have less hairy armpits. Yeah, and here's some eyes. Here, eyes over here, there.
Yeah, I really need to see more.
Oh, you mean like the eyebrows that women pluck and change and
Oh, you're saying that even there, I wouldn't know if they weren't changing that sometimes?
well, sometimes you could, but not all the time. The point isn't can you get 100% right. The point is it possible to even get it 100% right? How close are we even getting?
All right.
And then here's some nipples. Tell me which ones are men's and women.
Okay, nipples I can do.
Yeah, see? Which ones?
Okay, maybe. Well, I gotta see the rest of the breast.
Yeah, well, that for sure, the breasts are generally different, although not on some women. But really, when you look at the structure, a lot of it is the context for how big it is. And yeah, I haven't been completely fair. I've chosen pictures that are confusing, but they weren't that hard to find, and they weren't that hard to do. So, are they really that different? Is it that big a difference?
Hmm.
Parts is parts.
Hmm. All right, but then there's the genitalia.
Yeah, obviously they look different.
I would say.
Yeah, from an anatomical perspective, all the parts are pretty much equivalent.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, actually, it's basically like one's an innie and one's an outie, and things have been kind of rearranged into different spots, but it's pretty similar.
Would you like to elaborate?
Sure. Here, check out this diagram. I put this together for you.
Oh, well, that's nice of you.
Yeah, here's basically the structure of the clitoris over here, and the structure of the penis and the scrotum, and then here we can see labia majora and the equivalent on the man. Same.
You are kidding.
Yeah, and same labia minora. There's this and that and
Okay. Wow.
and here's the crus. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that, and then here's the bulb. That's see there the glands, and there's the glands of the clitoris and the glands of the penis. It's even called the same thing now. Again, size difference, but even the shape isn't really that far off. And here the prepuce. Again, and then the shaft.
Yeah. Okay. The shaft, totally different.
Yeah, in size, but also the equivalent of the shaft is inside under the skin of the woman, and therefore hard to see. But it's actually not a small structure at all.
You are kidding.
I would not kid on this. This is just biology. You can look this up.
Okay.
So basically, all these parts, they're on both people. So obviously,
Yeah. I mean, like the balls. Women don't have balls.
yeah, but women have ovaries, which are the reproductive pieces. And the balls are mostly on the outside, and the ovaries on the inside, which goes back to my old theory of innie and outie. Again, all the same parts. They're just basically put into different kind of places, although they're really pretty close to where the other ones are.
Yeah. I'm starting to see this.
Parts is parts. They've just been rearranged.
Whoa.
See? See what I mean?
I did not know.
Yeah, and actually, since sex education is kind of lagging behind, well, everything.
You mean the non-existent sex education?
Yeah, pretty much that. Of course, a lot of people don't really understand just how similar these structures are, even though they look different and even though they have different proportions.
And certainly we do know, functionally, there's a lot of similarity.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you care.
If you care. So, well, we sure look different.
Right, but a lot of that is like hairstyles or what people wear, and obviously there's some body sizes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not denying that there are some differences, but are the differences so huge? Are we the opposite sex, or are we really just the other sex?
And so for that close to each other,
Yeah, we're basically made of the same parts, have the same liquids, and so is biology really the big determinant of gender?
okay, you're trying to say because biology maybe isn't all that different, is maybe the big difference that we're seeing in reality here, is that not just biology? Is that maybe culture?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Like, I mean, obviously things like at certain times men weren't allowed to wear their hair long without certain repercussions societally,
Right, I remember this.
and 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 then women weren't supposed to wear short hair. Well, that way you could tell who was who. But there's no biology that says men can't have long hair or women can't have short hair.
Yeah, it was just cultural.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Something to think about. Again, we can keep the genders separate, but if people are saying, "Oh, we're so different, it has to be this way," I'm not sure where the evidence for that is. We can do it, we can keep them different, but I don't know that it has to be.
Very interesting.
I thought so.
Thanks for confusing the issue.
You're welcome.
Bye.